basically, the storage carts, can be stored anywhere that's so desired, but the idea is they don't necessarily have to be hidden from view or stored out of sight or inside a building, because they have a more consistent look, provide a consistent look throughout the community. You don't have 100 different kinds of garbage cans. They're more durable, a thicker material. They cannot be separated from their lids, so there's always a lid on them. But of course, that depends on whether the owner would close it or not. Generally, they do. Thank you. Their lid seals more consistently, and it's heavier lid, so it seals better. And they're designed to be harder to tip over, lower center of gravity, higher wind resistance, and they have wheels and handles to be able to move them around. But when you get right down to it, we have just short of 36,000 properties with tipper carts right now in the city of Green Bay. Since we went to full automation collection in 14, it is a lot. It is a big number, but comparably, through the end of last month, we only had 1,153 locations that we had to deal with, and a lot of that was educational. Where you're not going to have overnight changes in compliance where people have to get used to it, and you're sending them a notice, or you're relocating it and educating them and that type of thing. If you do the math, it's like 3.2% of all the stops, all the locations. In a perfect world, we'd love 100% compliance, but generally speaking, you're never going to get there. But you set that as your goal. At the end of the day, though, tipper carts, storage, they can be stored in many different fashions. Some cities in the state of Wisconsin don't have tipper cart storage requirements. Just put them out and put them where you can, conceal them if you can. Just try to do the right thing. Each community's rules are based on aesthetics. How do you want your neighborhoods to look? And your intended quality of life is kind of the aesthetic mix. How consistent do you want your neighborhoods to look? And then obviously the opinion of the ruling body. What do we want for our city? DPW has we recommended the current policy ordinance for storage. We're not opposed to changing it or modifying it. We're happy to enforce it the way it is now. If there is any changes, we don't have any specific recommendation for changes tonight. We can do it the way, keep enforcing it the way it is, or if there would be any modifications, we're happy to enforce it, any changes. That's the long and the short of it is that it's really aesthetics. What do we want for our community? How do we want to help our residents to help themselves to deal with their garbage and recycling containers?
Okay, Alderman Wary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I brought this forward partly because I've had a plethora of complaints the last couple months about these in a couple neighborhoods, and I think it might be more of an inspection issue, because when I do go out, some of those that were cited or warned definitely didn't follow our guidelines, but some clearly did. And so I don't know if there's maybe a lack of communication maybe, or some of our inspectors don't quite understand the policy, but if we could reiterate with them. And I did want another perhaps discussion with the council and the committee if we did want less restrictive, or if we're fine with the way it is. Has anyone had any feedback about allowing it perhaps in front of a garage, or is that something we want to shy away from? But I definitely wanted to bring this forward and see if we could better communicate with our inspectors. Maybe they're having a bad day or something, but when I went out, they looked perfectly fine.
One thing I might add, if I could, is we've had some residents, and I think there was one lady trying to do the right thing for her neighborhood. God bless her, and that's great. Because if someone's not doing the right thing, we want to make sure that our community is doing the right thing. But there is also an understanding, and it's written in our ordinance, that carts are allowed to be in front of the house out to the street from noon the day before your garbage collection or recycling till noon the day after. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, so that's part of our education effort. So if my garbage day is Wednesday, technically I can put them out to the street to the curb line at as early as noon on Tuesday, and I don't have to put them away by ordinance till as late as noon on Thursday. So we may, and this, we have heard residents, hey, it's Tuesday and their garbage day is Wednesday. Well, if it's afternoon, it's legal. You may not like it, but that's the way our ordinance is right now, so they are not in violation. And they have to have it back off the street by noon on Thursday. But that is 48 total hours for a very short time period of collection, but that's the way it's written right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just be curious if anyone else on the committee has any questions or any comments. Otherwise, I do have a motion.
I do, but I'll start with Alderman Johnson. Johnson,
Mr.
you got
Pila,
the floor.
question. When you issue municipal citations, does that go to the occupant or does it go to the property owner?
Well, a municipal citation goes to the property owner. And actually, a lot of our activity is, for example, say someone has a garbage day on Tuesday or Wednesday, but it's still out on Friday. We will take that, and if you issue a municipal citation, it has to be served in person, which makes it kind of tricky and difficult. People work, people travel, people are maybe off-site landlords. So what we do more often than write citations is we have a fee for services. It's a relocation fee. It's $33. That's the average, take a vehicle, person's wages, all the overhead, fuel, to drive out there, take that cart. We put a notice on it and then move it to a legal location. And then they get a fee, an invoice sent to still the property owner, but you don't have to serve it to them in person because it's an invoice. If it's not paid by, I think it's around middle to end of November, then it rolls onto their property tax roll. So it's still tied into the property ownership.
So when I'm looking at your report, I see 1,153 cart storage issues. Does that translate into citations?
Probably predominantly fees for service, but,
Yeah.
activity fees, if you want to call it.
Okay,
yeah.
so all of those do involve some type of fee?
Right.
These aren't just complaints and,
There were complaints and/or observations by DPW directly that we acted on, and had to do something about them.
okay, thank you.
Chris, I've been in contact with you for a number of years on this issue, and one of the issues that I have run into is that in district, the ward that we traveled through, garbage day is on Thursday, and they leave their cans out on Friday. And then when I call to get someone to come out there and take a look at it on a Friday, it's very difficult.
Right.
So that's the issue. And then basically a lot of them that I've showed you say all weekend out on the street. And I can't get a hold of anybody to take a look at that. So what would you suggest for that issue?
Well, we did start, Alderman Nicholson, off and on, it's random. When we get those types of issues where it has to be off by noon on Friday, we have had some situations where we were able to go out between, noon and 3 before the end of the regular service week and do something about it. We also have had randomly someone come in on the weekends and see what we can do, but it
Okay.
hasn't been consistent. We also have had some that, and then, of course, this doesn't cover all 100% of the situations, but somewhere we had the notice, we went out on Monday and we still caught them, but still, they were out all weekend.
Right. I had another question, I just can't remember. But, well, Alderman Ware, you have a motion?
I do. Some residents had pushed to have a more lenient in front of the garage type situation, but I think most of theirs can be taken care of with the application for a hardship. I think most people have adapted, but they get frustrated when they've adapted and then they get warned that it's not in the right place when it actually is. So my motion is first to have a refresher for all inspectors regarding these guidelines, and then secondly to forward the cart storage memo to all council members.
Okay, motion on the floor to that effect.
Second?
Second by Johnson, under discussion, I remember my question now, Chris. Now, who actually goes out there? Now, you know, if the cart is left beyond the time limit of our ordinance,
When we go out, it's typically
the inspector states it's a Department of Public Works issue.
right.
So, I'm getting a little confused with Mr. Worry's motion. Is it the inspection that goes out, or is it DPW?
Well, there's
Or is it both?
There's somewhat of an overlap. Inspection department, which is not DPW, it's our planning department.
Right.
You know, those are our building inspectors, housing inspectors. They deal with a lot of housing-related issues out there. When they see something like this, say, you know, the cart's stored blatantly right in front of the garage or right on the front porch or something that's just not correct,
Right.
they will let us know.
Okay.
Inspection, they won't act on it. The people who act on it are DPW employees. We have a list, and we send someone out, they go around, and that employee, they drive around, oh, I see it, yep, that's in violation, their Tuesday route, and it's Thursday, it's still out. They relocate them, leave a tag, they get an invoice fee for services.
Okay.
Chairman,
Oh.
a question.
Burnett?
Yes,
Alderman Burnett.
Chris, what I understand, the city had a service agreement with the Oneida Nation, and in my district, that's an area of concern that many residents have, because when they're tax exempt federal trust properties, that the city has no enforcement authority, or at least they didn't under that service agreement. So when there is a complaint about a property that's held in federal tax exempt trust, do the inspectors go out, do we have any ability to do anything with those properties?
As far as housing and building inspection, I can't answer that question for you, I'm not sure. But our sanitation section superintendent, Debbie Epping, has a kind of a one-on-one relationship with the head of the housing for the Oneidas. When we have DPW-related issues, you know, cart storage or anything else like that, they'll call and talk, and then it ends up having to be a collaborative effort, because, again, we can't invoice them, because it's Oneida tribal property, it's not on the tax roll.
This, even though they're city of Green Bay
Correct.
homes, does DPW, or have they recently moved that storage into tipper cart to the home like you would in a non?
There have been some recently, yeah, it's not, and actually, believe it or not, I don't recall a huge problem out there, but we have had some. And within the last month or two, there's been some.
And do we do the
activity.
$33 like we would in the?
No, I don't believe that, like I had alluded to earlier, I don't believe that the invoices were sent out, because there's nothing, you know, we could send them out. It would be an honor system for them to pay it, because it wouldn't roll to any tax base or tax roll.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Johnson.
Mr. Pirla, reading your report here, and you alluded to this as well, that this is the only activity where the Public Works Department is involved in terms of issuing citations or getting involved on the compliance side?
For.
Let me cut to the chase. Is there a reason that housing inspection doesn't handle this? Why is Public Works Department handling it?
Because it's under the Public Works chapter, so it's Public Works responsibility for enforcement. So we've taken it upon ourselves.
Is that the most efficient way to handle it?
Sure.
Because, I mean, it seems to me if housing is right there on site, and then they're calling your guys to come move it when they're already there, I'm just trying to figure out if there's a more efficient way to handle our response time on this. And quite honestly, I mean the way we spend our time as staff.
Yeah, that's something we can look into, a collaborative effort. I'm not opposed to that at all. We've always taken it upon ourselves in DPW, because it's like I said, it's under the Public Works chapter, so the buck stops at Public Works, so to speak. But we can work out, you know, work with inspection department.
All right, so as the rookie here, does that require action by us to do that, or is that something you guys can figure out on your own?
I believe we can work that out internally at the staff level. Unless there's something else that, you know, ordinance-wise that might need to be done.
Just a suggestion, I would give some reference to Pure Lot's office for a recommendation, I would. because that would basically get the ball moving, what Alderman Johnson's looking for, and then you can report back to us and we can decide on it.
Absolutely.
Well,
Should we finish up on Chris's motion?
yes, let's take care of, Mr. Worry's, motion, then we'll entertain another motion from Johnson. So, okay, on Alderman Worry's motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Alderman Johnson?
Then I would move that if Department of Public Works would research or report out the feasibility of having the housing inspection department, housing inspectors take over the responsibility for managing complaints on tipper carts.
Second.
There's a motion by Johnson to that effect. Second by Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, moving forward. Number 2, consideration of possible action on request by Alderman Worry to allow city council members to provide with printed agendas and minutes. Alderman Worry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I brought this up because when I voted for our new system, which is excellent, I mean, it's a well-maintained system with a lot of information, but I didn't vote to eliminate the option of paper agendas. I mean, I like my paper agendas. I take them with me everywhere I go, whether it's, kids events or other events for my wife, or if my daughter's practicing driving and I'm sitting in the passenger seat. I can read them and write notes on them and highlight things. I don't have to have a tablet, and if you have a tablet, if it's not charged, I'd much rather prefer paper. And to that end, it's not like paper's being eliminated, because when I asked for it, I was told, well, you can come into City Hall and go down to your little cubicle that we all share and sit down and hit the print button and wait. And I'm like, well, yeah, I have a lot of time to do that, Some of us work full-time jobs, and that's the last thing we want to do is come to City Hall and print our agendas when it can be just done for us. I mean, we're the board, right? We can't be given an agenda. I mean, heaven forbid. So, my motion is to allow council members to request and be provided printed agendas. These are to be placed in the council's City Hall mailboxes. So we can't eliminate the mailing. I know that's a big part of it. We can eliminate all that postage. I'm simply fine with putting it in the mailbox.
Okay, motion on the floor by Worry to that effect. Is there a second?
A little clarification, though, the motion he mentioned agendas, but the communication also says minutes. Is it just, is he looking for the agendas to be printed?
I think I wrote Alderman Burnett, you're right. I really just meant the agendas, you're right.
Just agendas. Just
I'll
agendas.
second that.
Second by Burnett, under discussion.
Just for clarification, are you
Chris.
only talking about improvements and services committee? Because if you're talking council-wide, I'm not sure that this is the proper venue or the group to get that to. I mean,
Well-
as improvement and services committees, support staff, I would think, we can get agendas out, that's not.
I know it had to go somewhere, so I started it here. I tried to go through Miss Jeffries, but pretty much met a roadblock there, right? You were not gonna provide written agendas?
You mean printed agendas?
Printed.
Because we have provided a printer for you downstairs. That is correct.
And you think that's a reasonable alternative for the board of directors to come in and print their own agendas? You know how goofy that sounds?
Well, that's the point of going paperless.
As an option. But I think if you want to have it paper,
Agendas, we can provide that, but I think you need to also be clearer about which agendas do you want. You want the entire Friday packet,
yes,
which also included minutes?
just the agendas, yeah. So is that something we can do without even,
Well, then this will go to city council.
okay,
and-
yeah, that's
Right.
fine.
It's just a recommendation, so. Anything else, Alderman Worry?
No,
Alderman Burnett?
As long as we're on the subject, because I understand Alderman Weary's original communication included minutes, I do have a concern. If we just very recently go back to the public hearing on Hillcrest and Haven, the road construction, this committee heard many comments from the public, and when this was put in the minutes, it didn't reflect the comments and number of speakers, at least from what I saw before we went to the council. And I understand that as a full city council, a lot of times they act on the decision on the committee, that's the point of committee work. But for all those constituents that had a lot of really strong comments, it would be nice to have some sort of recap in the minutes to reflect that for the speakers who could not attend the full council meeting. I understand the mayor's perspective and opinion that we are now, televised or recorded meetings, and I don't know how many council members will watch every improvement and service committee meeting, and I think the public should at least have that in the minutes. So maybe I'm missing something, but that's my opinion.
Can't see me.
So,
Mr. Chairman, either myself or Alder
one
Dorf.
second, Barb, we do have you second it, right?
Yeah.
Alderman
That's
Burnett?
what I did.
Okay, Alderman Dorf.
Just to speak to Alder Burnett, so two of the newer council members had called me about that, and I had watched the entire meeting, and then I went back and rewatched just the hearing part of it and recommended that they do that, and they did do so, and then came in and heard much of the same things at the hearing. So I think you'd be surprised that, there are those of us that take the responsibility to go and watch those videos. Minutes could not possibly capture the emotion and, the feeling that you got from watching that hearing and it, so I think that it's a good topic to bring up, to remind all of us again. But just so you know, two of the new council members had called me, and I said, yep, you need to watch that. And then I had actually called another alder and suggested, and he also did watch it.
Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Wery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And partially agreeing with Alder Dorf, but it's not really a matter of responsibility, it's more of efficiency, I think, is probably what Alderman Burnett's, you can breeze through the full minutes in 20 minutes rather than spending 2 hours watching a meeting, especially if you have a full-time job and family. So when we discussed this was a point of contention that all of the minutes still would be available, but in the full format for the hearing impaired, somebody had to go through and do them word for word.
That is accurate. And
Okay.
so, Alder Burnett, we have a service called rev.com, which provides us verbatim minutes. Those are available to the public. Right now, I can't get my mind exactly how you access that, but I will get that information to you. So it is verbatim minutes, as well as the videos being marked, so that you can go directly to that point in the video and listen to the testimony. We are no longer doing summary minutes, which is what you're talking about.
I think that'd be great if we could just
Yeah.
show everyone how to get to those verbatim minutes, because that'll do exactly
Yeah.
what we're looking for, and it's there. Then you don't have to watch 2 or 3 hours of testimony of every meeting.
But remembering that the videos are marked, so you can go directly to that point in the meeting, so you don't have to watch the entire video.
Right.
Anything else, Chris?
No.
Alderman Johnson?
Just to speak directly to the motion, I guess I would oppose it in its current format only because I see the inefficiency that is created when you're creating special circumstances for requests like this. And so I guess my recommendation would be, I don't like the idea again of like, we're going to print it for this person and not for this person. I think you're all in or you're not. And I think because when you put that burden on the staff to try to determine who we're going to accommodate on any particular issue, I think that creates a lot of inefficiency in tracking for the staff. So I think that's one point that I would make is either you're going to do it for everyone or you're going to do it for nobody.
Alderman Wery, can you clarify that? I was under the assumption that we would have it for everyone.
I
It's
think it
just for
would be,
you?
no, it would be for whoever requests it.
Whoever
If half the
requests it.
council or 3/4 don't want it, there's no need to print it off for them. That is waste. But if there are a couple who want it, as we've done for the last 100 and some years, be given those printed copies and not require the board to come in and print their own off. That's ridiculous. Thanks.
Any other questions or concerns? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
Nay.
Okay, moving forward. Number 3. Consideration with possible action on a request by Alderman Worry to allow city council members a second parking permit. Alderman Worry, you wanna start, or?
Sure, thanks. Thanks,
Start
Mr.
with
Chairman.
director? Okay. Go ahead.
And it's probably not so much a second permit as maybe a copy of your existing permit, so that if you have 2 cars, you can have one in one and one in the other. Because I know those of us with active families, often, you might not have the same car every day, and your daughter or your wife is off with the other one, and you're gonna get, I know Alderman Nicholson, you've had a few tickets, right, by not having another permit. So, I mean, we've had 2 permits since 2002. As long as I've been on the council, was that 16 years, oh, minus 2, 14 years? So, my motion really is to allow, however you want to call it, a second permit or a duplicate of this permit. That way, really, only one of them can be used at one time. I have nobody else in my family who's going to come downtown. Nobody has any reason to come down here for anything, business, banking, city hall, why, nothing. They don't come down here, so it's not like we're trying to cheat the system. It's really a matter of allowing your board to avoid getting a ticket and then having to get it wiped out. And it's following past practice, something we've always done. We've always been allowed to have 2. So I'll listen to the rest of the committee or staff on that before we make a motion, but I'm looking for any suggestions.
Alderman Johnson or Alderman Burnett, you wanna comment, or should we have our director?
Yeah, I just wanna know why the practice changed.
Okay, Director Pirla?
I'm not really sure exactly why it changed. Prior to our current activities, the older person, the council member, passes were issued through the mayor's office, not through parking division. But we're trying to consolidate it into a consistent plan where everything goes through parking. That's my understanding. Now, unfortunately, our director of public works couldn't be here tonight. He had a different commitment that he had to make the commitment. Our only recommendation right now is to hold a decision up for 2 weeks, so he has an opportunity to be here, and we can collect some information and make it understandable to everybody.
Okay.
Motion to hold.
1 second, you wanna open up the floor for interested parties?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Worry, second by Johnson to open up the floor for interested parties. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, the floor is now open. Here or there? Right there, I guess. Just state your name and address for the record, please. Let me see if I can turn you on here.
36 Lincoln Court.
Podium. I saw podium.
May.
It's podium.
To the left, bottom left. Up.
Right here?
Yep.
Got it. All right.
Mary Scanlon, 36 Lincoln Court, Green Bay. I am parking Mary, been in parking since March of 1988, so I have a long history there. I recognize a few of you. Just so you know, we have, right now, we have several different types of permits. Some of our permits are a hang tag that hang in the vehicle. Other permits are a permit that you use to get in and out of the parking ramps. Those are computerized. In the city, we only issue 1 permit per person. We did go to a new system for the alder persons because we are looking for a more durable permit. But when you park at a parking ramp, you have your parking permit and you check it in and you check it out, and you check it in and you check it out. When we used to have the gates up all the time, we actually counted a downtown business that used 13 people to get in and out of the ramp with 1 pass. We saw this happen. So that's why we now keep our gates down and why we require the in, the out, the in, the out. If you're in a surface parking lot and you have a permit hanging on your vehicle, we only give you 1. If we gave you more than 1, you could have a permit in that lot and perhaps a different lot. And we would have no way of knowing other than strictly by luck of figuring this out. We have no other tracking mechanism. They are not barcoded or anything of that nature. So that is why giving multiple permits, to me, it's more like if you give multiple permits to the alders, but you don't give it to everybody else, you're kind of doing maybe something a little special. So that's all I have. We don't do it for anybody else. And I know it was changed because we're trying to get you guys a more durable permit, something that hangs in the mirror, so. Thank
Any
you.
questions for Mary? Alderman Burnett?
Mary, thank you. You don't have to mention names, but your 30 years, your entire 30 years as a parking,
Mhm.
and working in parking division, have you ever run into any problems with aldermen or women abusing the privilege? And no names necessary, but
Yes.
there have, okay, more than 5
A year?
total?
Yes.
Okay,
More than 5, probably a year.
thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Burnett. Anybody else? Any questions for Mary? Going once, twice, nothing? Thanks, Mary.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to hold.
Let's close the floor unless there's someone else out in the audience.
Motion to
That's
close the
a speed.
floor.
Second?
No, motion by Burnett to close the floor for regular order of business, second by Johnson. Under discussion here, none. Nays, motion carried. Okay, Alderman Burnett, you want to entertain a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to hold for 2 weeks, just for the purpose of letting Director Grenier, allow his opinion for the council.
Motion on the floor by Burnett to hold. I would suggest at our next meeting, because it's gonna be about 3 weeks. Could be in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah,
Could be
until
3
our
weeks to
next
our next
meeting.
meeting.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second?
Second by Johnson, under discussion? Are you gonna speak?
No, I would just hope that Director Grenier, thank you, Mr. Chairman, would be ready, because I know I've emailed him a couple times and have had no replies, which is sad. So hopefully he'll be ready this time. Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, moving forward. Number 4, consideration of possible action on a request by Alderman Dorf to craft a proposal to implement the municipal vehicle registration fee program, wheel tax. Now, do you want to speak on that, Barb, or do you just want me to just inform the committee what, Director
You
Grenier?
should, you
Okay.
should do that, because he's not here, so
That's
we
fine.
can't move forward.
Director Grenier called me last night and stated that he can't be at this meeting and he wants it held. So, to that effect, I'll entertain a motion to hold to our next meeting.
So moved?
Motion by Johnson to hold to our next meeting. Second by Burnett. Under discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay. Moving forward, number 5, consideration of possible action to look at what other Wisconsin communities do with respect to overnight parking bans, with the potential to eliminate the overnight parking ban in Green Bay. Referred from April 25th, 2018. Director Chris Pirlot.
Since the last meeting, what I did was, Alderman Stoyer had asked for a certain limited amount of cities to be polled. What I did was took the liberty of polling the top 10 cities by population in the state of Wisconsin, just comparing from the biggest to the number 10. What does everyone else do, first of all, for overnight on-street parking? And of those 10, it's summarized in this report, but there's a little table on the 5th page of the report that I had put together. Everybody except Madison and Janesville. Madison is number 2 by population. Janesville is number 10. Has some form of an overnight on-street parking restriction. Milwaukee, being the largest, allows it as long as it's not on a connecting highway or an arterial street in the winter, or bus route in the winter. Otherwise, they allow it at other times. But you have to have a paid permit. It's $55 a year per vehicle. Janesville, Madison allows parking on street overnight, but they have 24 large residential areas that one side is restricted by permit. You have to have a permit to park on the one side. The other side is restricted by whatever it is, 2 hour, 1 hour, no parking, unrestricted parking. So there's definitely control, if you will. The other 8, Janesville being number 10 in population in the city, in the state, has no restriction, but they don't have any on-street parking issues. They have adequate off-street parking. And they do not actively enforce their parking ordinances very strictly. So it's all personal honor system, if you will. But they indicated they don't have any real issues. The rest of the cities have some form of overnight on-street restriction. And there's numerous, this issue has been discussed many, many times in my 28 years being the parking manager, serving as a parking manager for our city. And there's basic general reasoning behind it on bottom of page 3 into page 4. I can go through them, but 17 basic reasons why you would establish an overnight on-street parking restriction program. A lot of them are, quality of life, snow plowing ability, street sweeping ability. Police, including the City of Green Bay Police, historically have said that they like it. It gives them the ability to identify suspicious vehicles because there's no on-street overnight parking all night, even though because it's really just a 2-hour window. But of course, you're not going to get up at 2:59 a.m., put your car in the driveway, and get up at 5:01 a.m. and put your car back in the street. So it's really an overnight parking restriction. But it gives you flexibility for late night guests. We have. Based on our comparison to the other cities, the City of Green Bay has a very lenient, flexible, overnight on-street parking restriction exceptions policy. There's a hardship policy. Of course, they have to, for the exceptional hardships, they go through the Improvements and Services Committee. Yeah, we had one 2 or 3 weeks ago with the disabled gentleman who needs 24/7 care. So we allow that. As long as we know what's going on, we take care of it. But basically, at the end of the day, at least from our experience in the city of Green Bay, obviously anything can be changed. But I'd like to read real quickly from our conclusions, recommendations. Parking Division understands the reason for this request to modify on-street overnight parking. Of course, no set of rules can satisfy every person's needs. But however, Parking Division believes that Green Bay's overnight on-street parking rules are flexible enough to satisfy most circumstances. In addition, a process exists for those who need exemptions to the ordinance. So our recommendation for parking is it works well. It provides a certain level of stability for services and we do sweep at night. And we do plow at night. Of course, you never know when Mother Nature's going to give us snow. It always seems like we plow at night, though. And there's a lot of flexibility in our ordinance compared to other cities. But of course, at the end of the day, it is up to the council to decide what you wish to do. But our recommendation from the parking staff is that we maintain it the way it is. Of course, we'll enforce any ordinance the way as it's written. Gladly do that.
That it?
That's it, yes.
Thank you, Director Pirlot. Any questions from the committee? Actually, Chris, who brought this forward?
Yeah, Alderman Stoyer brought it forward. And, my general recollection from the last meeting was his primary thing was, what other cities do? So that's where I started. We started with the survey of the other cities. And Jadesville being number 10 in population they just allow, go ahead and do it.
Okay.
But the other cities all have some kind of control over it.
Any questions from the committee? If not, entertain a motion. Mary Scanlon? You don't have to open up the floor
No,
for
she's
staff, so just go right ahead.
Mary Scanlon, 36 Nika Court. I'm probably a little bit closer to the topic than Chris is. I've been, as I said before, with parking for 30 years. I also did a 30-day stint over at the police department as a 911 dispatcher last century sometime. Couldn't handle the night shift, but you would be surprised the number of elderly in the community who will call because there is a suspicious vehicle out in front of their home. The other, probably the biggest thing, and one of the biggest things I've seen change at parking during the time that I've been there is the amount of apartment complexes we are enforcing at for the nighttime. The apartment complexes seem to use the night parking ordinance as a tool for limiting the number of guests that can be at their residence. We also go through their private parking lots at night, and we will ticket any vehicles that do not have permits. And again, this is to keep the number of people staying at the apartment complexes down to what they want. Otherwise, you can have apartment complexes that, if you took away a night parking ordinance and you took it by, say, Humboldt Road, where there's all those apartments, and you had one guest at every one of those apartments, they would be blocking mailboxes and driveways, and there would be garbage, and people don't necessarily always decide that they're going to block their own mailbox, so they block their neighbors, because they don't get along. And it just balloons out of control, and I really think this would be a huge mistake if the city looked at redoing this. It does keep down the street traffic, and I think it actually, personally, I think too, it helps keep with the crime, the abandoned vehicles. We're towing vehicles all the time. We tow way more vehicles now than we ever did, and they're just left out on the street as junk. So, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mary Scanlon? Nothing? Okay. Any comments, concerns? If not, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to receive and place on file.
Okay, motion by Burnett to receive and place on file. Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second? I'll second it. So, Alderman Burnett, you got the floor.
I remember this coming up my first time on the council, and I worked through the issue. A few of the constituents had concerns, and they appeared before, I believe it was the Improvement and Services Committee. And through that process, I determined, as did they, that the city's policy for exceptions was rather fair, you know, for the situations where a person needs a permit longer for out-of-state guests or out-of-city guests. And I thought that it was reasonable, the city's position on this. For me, my decision to make a motion to receive and place on file under what city staff provided, a summary of the report, number 7, and I'll just read it, and I think it's worded perfectly, kind of really makes sense to me. And it says, of course, scrolling too fast.
Get a paper copy of each there.
If I had a paper copy. So, number 7, police departments use nighttime vacant streets as a tool for surveillance and law enforcement. Perpetrators typically park on the street, walk to the crime scene, and return to their vehicle. Having few or no vehicles parked on street overnight makes it much easier to identify suspicious vehicles. And it makes so much sense. People were going to commit crimes or looking to, stealing things from properties. This would be perfect for them to be able to park on the street at all hours of the night and then make a clean getaway. So, the motion to receive and place on file, I think, is a good one, unless I have overwhelming evidence or, outcry from the public to reverse this. I think it's reasonable to continue what the city's policy has been.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Burnett. Anybody else? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays, motion carried. Okay, moving forward. Number 7, consideration of possible action on a report of purchasing, number 6. Consideration of possible action on approval of memorandum of understanding bike sharing services between the city of Green Bay and Lime Bike. Director Purlot.
Having discussed this with the Director of Public Works, who's most directly involved in it, it appears to be very clear to me that it's, there's been established a good understanding and an agreement to allow this, to go forward, this program to go forward, the Lime Bike program. I don't know if Matt would like to speak to it.
Sure, I can
but-
get
quick presentation if you'd like. My name is Matt Buchanan. For those of you who don't know me, I'm on the economic development team for the city. So I've been tasked with this project, working alongside many community partners for the past year. We've researched bike share systems out there in other communities, trying to identify a good fit for Green Bay. So today we are ready to move forward with a 3-year agreement with the private company Linebike. So by approving this MOU, the city would be granting approval for Linebike to operate bike sharing services within our right-of-way. That's why it's appropriate to bring this to the INS committee, as this committee oversees activities within the right-of-way. So if this MOU is approved, Linebike would be providing this service at no cost to the city or taxpayers, aside from the user fees, which is just $1 for 30 minutes. And generally, that is really the limit of our role in this venture, other than to help ensure that this dockless system is well managed. City staff would assist Linebike in identifying preferred parking areas for riders to leave a bike, but otherwise the city would have no ownership or management responsibilities of the system. Linebike is a private company that operates dockless bike share systems in dozens of communities across the nation. When they launch a system in a community, they hire their own local staff to manage it. In Green Bay, they're looking at launching to start about 250 to 500 bikes, which would be located community-wide. They'd hire a team of about 5 to 7 to manage 5 to 7 employees to manage and maintain the system. I guess a final point, I think bike share programs are now becoming an urban amenity that people are coming to expect when they travel to a city of any certain size or prominence. Even smaller places like Rockford, Illinois, and South Bend, Indiana. These are places that are launching bike share systems. Green Bay is at that level, and I think in order for us to remain competitive with attracting and retaining talent and to foster a high quality of life, we need to consider these kinds of urban amenities. With that, I will be happy to answer any questions.
But basically, yeah, we, planning and DPW have worked together cooperatively. We recommend approval of the program. Again, like Matt said, that there's really no impact on DPW or the city other than we work with them to cooperatively identify locations for the bikes to be dropped off, picked up.
Any questions from the committee? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to
Now,
approve.
we have a question or a concern from the audience. I'll make a motion by Burnett to open up the floor for interested parties. Second by Johnson. Under discussion here, none, all in favor. Nays, motion carried. The floor is now open. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Laura Grovigal, 1030 McCormick Street. I'm here to talk about the bike share, and I think bike share is an awesome idea. I think it can work from Green Bay, and I also welcome it, very much so. Biking is a lifelong activity, something that's healthy for everybody of all ages, and something that draws in people to our community, both people who want to work here, to have a bikeable city, and people who want to have a tourism reason for visiting our city. However, I feel like we have to kind of think about when we have a bike share program in our city, what that might mean for the community as a whole. So I think the discussion, and I know that there's discussion that I'm not privy to, is whether or not we should be doing a bike share program that is dockless or a bike share program that has a docking system. Linebike is a dockless bike system like we had just learned, and it is pretty new. And I think that what is not being shared are the downfalls of a dockless system that have been seen in cities like San Francisco and some other cities that are larger, obviously, than Green Bay. So when you think about some of those downfalls and combine that with the fact that Green Bay is not an overly bike-friendly city at the current moment, I think that there's just things that we have to think about. I want to make sure everyone knows that I'm like 100% in favor of a bike share program, just knowing the difference between, or the variety between a docking system and a dockless system. So, and I'd also like to point out some of the differences in the bicycles that come along with the different bike shares. Lime Bike being a very low quality bicycle that's built to only last approximately 2 years. Everything is out in the open on a Lime Bike. The gearing, the brake lines, nothing is enclosed or encased. There's been situations in larger cities where brake lines have been cut, and there's been different safety issues with bicycles that are in the cheaper bike share programs. So I'd like to point out that Madison, a city that we all look up to in Wisconsin, has a very successful bike share program. It's the B-Cycle program, which I believe had discussions with our city, having an interest to be in the area. Their bicycles have front and rear lighting. They have a display on the bicycle to show you turn-by-turn directions for where you'd like to go, especially for the tourists who come to our city. You can access the bicycle with cash, with the app on your smartphone, a credit card, and you can also use a transit card. So our citizens in town who don't have a credit card can hook up their transit card to utilize the bicycle system. They have enclosed brake lines to prevent tampering. And they also have extra fees that go to the customer when the bicycle is parked somewhere where it's not supposed to be. And that's a benefit that I think is huge and needs to be discussed, because Lime Bicycle has had issues with dumping bicycles in very hot spots. So we have Lambeau Field, we have the Broadway District, we have lots of breweries that we might have bicycles being dumped at and not returned to a spot where other people can pick them up and go biking. With a docking system, you don't have that problem because you have to put it back in the dock. And if you have a system that charges you for dropping it somewhere where it's not supposed to be, it's going to deter the citizen from dropping it somewhere where it's not supposed to be. So I would ask Lime Bike how they would ensure that the bicycles are evenly distributed within our community, that they're not being dropped at hot spots. I'd like to know how they are going to ensure safety and maintenance, and I just heard that there's going to be 5 to 7 people hired, which is great, but I'm not sure that we have the ridership to sustain a staff of 5 to 7 at the current moment. Although I'd love, in the future, I think that would be awesome to have that many people riding bicycles, to hire people to maintain them. I'd like to know how Lime Bike is going to keep the image of cycling positive in Green Bay, because we have currently all these great bicycle shops improving the image of biking in our town. And if we have a nuisance of Lime Bikes thrown all over our community without a certain spot for them to be parked, it could have a negative impact on the cycling community. And I also want to know what the ridership market is. What's our goal? Are we trying to get tourism and have people ride our bicycles, the bike share for tourism? Are we trying to have it for our citizens who have enough money to afford their own bike but want to bike around town on a rented bike for fun, whatever reason that might be? Are we targeting our low-income citizens who need to use a bicycle for transportation to work? All of those questions, I think, relate to what vendor we should select for a bike share. So again, I am 100% in favor of a bike share in Green Bay. I think it will work. I think we just need to pick the right partner to utilize a bike share.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? If not, sir?
I live at 1270 South Quincy Street. My name is Jacob Juliet. I am also for a bike share system in Green Bay. I have a lot of similar concerns, as she just pointed out. I actually just got back from Dallas, Texas, which implemented Lime Bikes maybe like 3 months prior. So I had an eyewitness to, I guess, the cluster that Lime Bikes created. They also are on a larger scale than us. I believe you told me them exactly.
20,000 bikes.
Yeah, so larger scale, but I mean, I believe there just has to be some caution while we enter this. I see benefits to both systems, and I guess just I mean, I'm concerned about the infrastructure and the safety as bikes become available and people start biking around the city. There's a lot of areas that I could see problems occurring between downtown and Bay Beach, between downtown and Titletown District. I just feel there needs to be some sort of way to control that so we can prevent incidents from happening. I think that might be it. I guess the cost is a big thing between dockless and docked. So if there's a way to somehow cover the cost of a docked sharing system by maybe crowdsource funding or something, I believe that's a better answer. But I don't know what the future holds, I guess.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right, any questions? Anybody else from the audience? Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Natalie Baumstead, 2455 Garden Park Terrace, Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm here as a resident as well as the executive director of Live 54218, whose mission is to improve the health and well-being of our people and our places here in our community. I've been a part of this conversation around bringing bike share program to our area for a number of years. In the last year, worked closely and had a lot of discussions with the staff at the City of Green Bay to really consider a lot of the things that have been brought forth here today. There are pros and cons between a dockless and a docked station. I think one thing that I know from working with a really active group of bike riders is that there is ridership out there, right? I think sometimes we are in a little bit of a chicken and an egg scenario in our community. We're working very hard to have, additional infrastructure to support the biking kind of culture that's coming and really ramping up here in our community. But at the same time, I think that what Lime Bike brings and what a bike share program can really bring to our community is show that, and it's going to be very visible, they're going to be Lime, very visibly show the momentum that there is for this in our community. I think it's an opportunity to really to kind of showcase the different areas, the different businesses in our community that are located along those areas that have that great bike infrastructure. And I think that, as Matt discussed, really this is an attraction and retention tool as well for our community. Other communities have bike share programs. I think that we would really do ourselves a disservice if we did not, look forward and try to compete in those same areas. This is kind of the momentum moving forward, so we would be in full support of this bike share program. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? No questions. Anybody else from the audience? If not, entertain a motion to return to regular order of business. By Burnett, second by
Second.
Johnson. Under discussion here, none, all in favor?
Aye.
You want to talk about
No, on the,
after this?
after that,
Okay.
yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays, motion carried. Regular order of business. Alderman Dorf.
So, I had been attending the Green Bay Area Active Community Alliance meetings for 2 years, and they had this under discussion for the past 2 years. They've done a ton of research. We talked about it. We looked at all the different angles. Alder Galvin and I were the ones that were mainly coming to that committee, and I am in full support of this idea. I know how much work and research they put into this. So I think they've come up with the best solution, and there's other ways to do it, of course. But for right now, I think this is the best possible solution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I entertain a motion. Oh, Alderman Worry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This, I guess, would be for staff or Alderdorf. Do you know how many bikes we're talking about? Not 20,000, I assume.
No, that's why they've had some issues in some of those larger communities where they've got 20,000 bikes and multiple providers, more than just Lime Bike. It's really hard to manage a system like that. So we're doing a lot of things here early on to make sure we don't get into those sorts of issues. One is making sure we have a smaller, manageable system. We'd be starting out with about 250 to 500 bikes. We haven't finalized that number yet, but starting out small, seeing where we are after the launch, and then potentially growing from there. It also, we need to take into account our neighboring jurisdictions, and if they decide to partner in with this as well, Schwabenau, Alloway, You know, the further we go out with those other communities, the more population is served, and we might need a little bit of a larger system. But yes, to answer your question, starting out 250 to 500.
Now, I understand, thank you for that. Did staff as well look at the docking system one as opposed to this one? I mean, did you weigh both, or?
Yes, we looked at a number of different bike share providers out there. There's all sorts of different ways to doing this. We had meetings with Zagster. They have a docked system. There's pros and cons to both systems. For Green Bay, we felt like the dockless system made the most sense. For now anyway, this was also by far the most cost efficient for our jurisdiction, with no upfront cost to the city of Green Bay. We liked the idea of the dock system, but the dockless really does provide more opportunities for folks in the community, residents, to use this, because the dock systems really do anchor the system to a few certain portions of the community, usually the downtown. With dockless, you can go out further than that and really provide more flexibility for the user.
Now, I can see the benefit of the docking system in that they have a specific place to go and they'll be out of the way and it'll keep things pretty tidied. Have there been issues in other cities, you know, with this, the hot spots, you know, if people are going to Titletown and you have 75 of them on the sidewalk, you know, in the bushes next to the building, in the parking lot, spilling over, you know, what do we do in that situation? Do we contact these people and say, you have a couple hours to fix it, or 12 hours, or 24?
Yeah,
I'm
they do
curious about
have staff on hand, local staff that they would hire. Like I said, about 5 to 7 starting out is what they had said for a system of our size. There's potential for that. However, I think partnering with the city staff, I mean, we have a smaller city here. We know what big events are going to be taking place. We know what potential for piling up there is. So I think we can get ahead of those sorts of issues. We'd be much more, I think we'd be in a better position compared to like a Dallas or a San Francisco.
All right, and I know I had emailed back to you, and you said they were well aware of our initial green bike program and how that went, right?
Yeah, they're aware of that.
Okay.
This would be a little different. There's
I'm sure any-
accountability with this system.
All right. Now, if they are in a hazardous place or a private yard or someplace we really don't want it or don't need it, it shouldn't be, what's the process for getting it moved? Do we move it and bill them? I mean, we don't want city staff because we're busy enough. I mean, we're stretched thin with all kinds of things. We're not going to be moving it, right?
No, that would be the responsibility of Lime Bike. And yeah, we'd call them, and they'd have their own staff tend to those issues.
Are they given a certain timeline? Because I'm just trying to think ahead. If one's reported on a terrace in front of someone's house, and they're like, boy, there's this Lime Bike sitting here, you know,
So,
who's
yes.
gonna come get it?
In their MOU, they do provide some information here on that last page. So responsiveness within 2 hours during business hours, between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. That would be their response times.
Then what would be the response time on the weekends?
On weekends, yeah, that's something that we might need to get on top of them a little bit more about to address those. I mean, we got games and stuff, so yeah, we'd have to partner with them to make sure that's...
That might be something we need to look at, because I think weekends will probably be used the most.
Probably so.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe during the week, but I think weekends people will be not working and they'll be out and about. And then I'm wondering why it's a 3-year agreement in case we have issues of hot
Yes.
spotting or safety and maintenance. You know, after 6 months, we don't say, hey, this is not working.
So also in this MOU, it's a great document. It provides protections to both Lime Bike and to us. If we do start this and we do find that there's a lot of issues and it's maybe just not worth our while, we do have the ability to send them notice of cancellation, and it'll be a 60-month notice, and then they will remove the
How many month notice?
60 days.
60, okay, and where is that clause in the memo?
It's page 4. Page 4.
Yep, page 4.
I'd be there already too if it was paper.
Number 15, termination.
So terminating this agreement for any reason or no reason. Okay. That's pretty clear. I think that's all the questions I have right now. Thanks.
Anybody else? Alderman Johnson.
So I was part of the group of community stakeholders as well, prior to being elected, that had worked with the city on this. And a couple of things that I'd like to point out. I do support this, and I do think, to Alderman Dorf's point, I do think that this is a good program and the city's vetted it well. And I also think it's a good program for the city. A couple of things when you talk about docking stations. One is, of course, they're costly. I think when we met with ZEG, if I recall, the number, it was $70,000 per docking station, and they expect the community to pay for that. So when you look at a community of our size and the need to have multiple docks, more than multiple, a lot of docks, to have your bikes equitably distributed throughout the community, I mean, I suspect you could be talking a couple $1 million to really set up a system like that in our community, which of course is going to be a huge barrier for a community our size. Aside from that, I want to point out another community, and this goes back to pros and cons, because I've done a fair amount of research on this. If you look at the reason why this system, the dock system, failed in Seattle, it's because they didn't have the docks in the right place. And so they spent a lot of money to put docks into a place, and the reason they knew they weren't in the right place and why the system failed is because Limebike came in. And Limebike had all of the GPS data that they could overlay with the GPS data from the dock system, and what they found is that the docks were located where people didn't need the bikes. And so that's ultimately what led to a huge investment up front and ultimately the failure of the program. The other thing I think that's important to point out is because this is all GPS tracked, and to Alderman Weary's point about kind of having a pileup of bikes, this is part of what the staff does, is they redistribute these bikes. And when you have data that's collected over a period of time, which is what they do with the GPS mechanisms, they know where the bikes are coming and going and when they need to be at certain locations. So if they know, for example, that, hey, City Deck is what we're seeing from GPS data is that there's a high demand for bikes at 7 a.m. in the morning or 5 p.m. when people are leaving work, they can redistribute bikes based on that data to ensure that there's an ample supply there when they do need them. And I think when we look at an example that Mr. Juliet brought up of Dallas, and I think this is an important point, 20,000 bikes, but in 3 months. They haven't had the opportunity to collect the data to understand how to properly distribute the bikes throughout the community. So this is where I do like the idea of a 3-year program because it gives us an adequate amount of time to track the usage and where bikes need to be distributed. And I think it does it in a way that provides, again, no cost to the city, which is really important. And so we talk about a shift in biking culture. It's the chicken or egg scenario that Ms. Baum alluded to. And I think we need to take the first step here and be able to provide a platform that the public can take advantage of. And I think it's really important to note that we didn't go to Limebike and say, we want you to come here. I mean, sure, we engage in those conversations, but this is a for-profit entity. They have to choose us. They don't have to choose us, and they did choose us, which tells me that their business model suggests that Green Bay is a market that they feel where this product can work. And this isn't something that is being forced on them. And they have not failed in a community yet. And I'm sure that we don't want Green Bay to be the first, and I'm sure that they don't want Green Bay to be the first either. And so I would just maybe wrap up with one final question, perhaps. Matt, I know that there was discussion about other municipalities, and you said that they're not there yet. Can you perhaps provide some information or shed some light on how those discussions have progressed?
Yeah, we've engaged with our neighbors, with De Pere, Ashwaubenon, Alloway, and with staff only at this point. They, of course, have their own process for approving these sorts of things, but generally very positive. I think some of them are just waiting for us to take that first step and decide to follow from there.
Thank you.
Anything else, Alderman Burnett?
Yes, Matt, I understand the reasoning why it would appear before this committee, the right of way and traffic flow, things like that. Does this also appear before Protection and Welfare Committee?
I don't believe so. We checked with the city attorney, and they said INS is the appropriate committee to take this one through.
Okay, so the city attorney said that, I don't want to I'm trying to paraphrase, but she is comfortable, or her staff is comfortable with it only appearing before this committee?
Yes, I think it might be an informational item to traffic, bicycle and pedestrian committee, but yes,
Okay, thank you.
to answer your question.
For the committee, I'm in favor of this for many of the reasons Alderman Johnson stated. Typically, I would expect to see this sort of agenda item on protection and welfare, because they would look at it from a different perspective, but considering many of the all four of those committee members are also on the council, when we discuss this at the full council, if we have to refer it to that committee, I'm comfortable making the motion at that time. But tonight, I'd be comfortable in moving forward with this MOU with Lime Bike.
Anything else? Alderman Burnett. Alderman Wery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt, you did a nice job here, and everybody else who was on there. I'm cautiously optimistic. You know, you knocked down pretty much all the concerns I had, except the one, which is the weekend coverage. I think that does need to be addressed and have it the same as during the week. There's no reason it can't be the same. You know, however they have to shift their deployment of people. I really just think of as an alderman, I don't want to tell someone who has something on their front lawn or somewhere on a Friday night, you gotta wait till Monday morning. I'm real sorry, these green bike people aren't gonna come get it till Monday. That's not gonna fly. So I'm gonna vote against it right now, but if you shore that up by council, I'd be glad to vote for it. Thanks.
Okay.
Well, could we move to approve with the provision or modification to the agreement that weekend coverage be included with the same hours as weekday?
Absolutely.
I'll second that.
Motion by Johnson to that effect, second by Burnett. Under discussion.
Bingo.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. Number 7, consideration of possible action on report purchasing manager. A, request approved to purchase a, trying to read it. Is it stripping?
It's a striper.
Striper.
Yeah. What do you call it, Chris, a long striper?
We call it the long line machine.
Long line striper, yes.
Oh, machine, that's what that other word is.
So this is the
Body
body,
from
the first thing.
Easy Liner for 2,000. Is it an 8 or a 6?
267,000.
514. Okay.
Yes. We entertained 2 bids for this piece of machinery, and we're recommending the award to Easy Liner for the $267,514.
Okay. Any questions? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Word,
Second.
second by Burnett. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes, motion carried. B, request approval to purchase a truck chassis from Quality Truck Care for $101,000. Rick?
Again, we looked at 3 different bids, and we're recommending the award to the low bidder at $101,000. Now, this is the chassis that will support the body that we just approved.
Okay.
Move to approve?
Motion to approve by Burnett, second by?
Second.
Worry, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Okay, discussion with possible action on the award of a contract for televised sewer basin inspection for an amount not to exceed 2018 budget amount of $600,000. Rick?
So I just handed out, when we put the agenda together, these bids had not come back from the vendors yet. So what I have in front of you are the final results. And so on item number 3, the contract recommendation is to award a contract to Northern Pipe Equipment for $505,953, which is well below the budgeted amount.
Hey, any questions? If not, entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved?
By Johnson, second by
Second.
Burnett. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
I have a
Nays?
quick question, Chairman.
Alderman Burnett.
On the 4 vendors, I noticed there's quite a difference. Low end of 505 to the high end of 2.2 million. Is that common for this?
This National Power Rotting Corporation, they bid every year. They're always $1 million higher than anybody else. I don't understand it. Matt could probably tell you, Matt Heckenleibel. But the Green Bay Pipe and Northern Pipe do the majority of the work in the city, and those bids come in fairly close each year.
All right,
So-
thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Nays, motion carried. D. David, discussion with possible action on award of a contract for televised standard sewer inspection for amount not to exceed the 2018 budget amount of $165,000. Rick?
Again, the bids have come back. We received 5 bids. They were open today, and we're recommending an award to the low bidder, which is Green Bay Pipe and TV LLC for $159,420.
Okay. Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve Green Bay Pipe and, what was it, TV LLC?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Burnett?
Yeah,
Burnett,
also
you-
question.
Under discussion.
Yes, same situation. This particular vendor went way over. One of the losing bids was nearly $1 million. Now, in future practice, why are we continuing to, they see the bid request and they're submitting it?
Yeah, we publish our bid requests on a national bid network, and then, it's an open competitive bidding process, so we don't prevent anybody from bidding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
By Burnett, second by
Second.
Johnson. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Eight, consideration of possible action on the review and award of the contract Superior Road Stormwater Pond Director.
Burnett. Has,
I'll
Okay.
speak to this one,
Okay.
Nicholson. If you remember, there is a subdivision going out on Sitka Road. Part of that, for that subdivision to go forward, we need to put this stormwater pond in first. With INS being on Wednesday, we're going to bid this project tomorrow. So what we're asking for tonight is to contingently approve the bids that we receive tomorrow, contingent upon having adequate funds in the program to do this. What we will do after we receive the bids tomorrow is we'll send out a summary to all alders before you go to council on Tuesday. So you have the
Any
information.
questions? If not, entertain a motion.
So moved. Move to approve. with
Motion to
those
approve by
conditions.
Worry, second by
Second.
Johnson. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Number 9, consideration of possible action on an agreement for purchase and sale of real estate at 1012 North Webster Avenue for the North Webster Avenue reconstruction project and authorized payments. Director Purlott?
we have a written, a signed offer to sell with the property owner in question. All the terms and conditions are satisfactory to all parties, and we recommend approval.
Any questions, concerns? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Worry, second by Burnett, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 10, consideration of possible action on relocation claims for the Webster Avenue project and authorized payments. Director Purlott.
There are two items, both for that same property, identified above 1012 North Webster Avenue. One in the amount of $41,900 to Roger D. Delarwell. Again, and that is relocation costs. I believe.
Relocation costs,
And again, to Mr. Delarwell, $305, and that is, I believe that's filing fees?
yes.
Yeah, the filing fees, and we recommend approval. It's
Okay, Questions or concerns? If not, entertain a motion.
Quick question.
Alderman Ware, you got a question?
Director
Make
Pirlot,
it
we,
quick.
how close are we to the end of these relocations? We must be at least halfway done, or, no? Okay.
No, I think we've got
About this morning.
about 6 or 7 properties that are purchased.
Okay.
So I mean, we're on our way, but yes, we have a long ways to go yet. There's 24 parcels
24, yeah.
total
Right.
that we're acquiring the whole parcel, so.
We have a deadline, or are we on
We're
schedule?
trying to get them all purchased this summer so we can take them down. Part of our sewer project next fall relies on having that first 2 blocks from University North down because there's relocated sewers going in that area. So it's crucial that we get these people going, so.
Appreciate it, thanks.
Yeah, and our real estate agent is working as efficiently and furiously as possible.
Any other questions or concerns? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Motion to approve by Johnson, second by Burnett. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Chris, on number 11, can we take A through E together, or you got an issue with one?
We have an issue.
Okay.
With just one.
11, consideration of possible action on application for concrete sidewalk builder's license by the following. A, Brian's Quality Concrete.
We would recommend approval.
Okay, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson, second by Worry, to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. B-Boy, Carter Trucking and Excavating.
They are new to us, so we're looking into their reference background checks right now, and we would approve them contingent upon successful reference checks.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to that effect by Worry, second by Burnett. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Everett's Concrete Construction LLC.
If you would, the rest of them, C through E,
Good.
we would recommend
Okay.
approval.
Approval of C, D, and E. I'll take all 3 of them together.
Approve?
Okay, motion to approve Everett's Precision Flat Work and Ray Jaeger Construction Incorporated.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson, second by
Second.
Burnett. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. 12, consideration of possible action for tree and brush trimmer license by Urban Tree Service, Director
We would
Pirlock.
recommend approval, we'll work with them.
Entertain a
before.
motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
By Worry, second by Burnett. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Informational. Director's report. Director Pirlock.
No report tonight.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to receive and place on file.
How's your chance to just?
Yeah, it's a short.
So moved.
Motion to receive and place on
street
file by
sweeping or
Burnett,
something.
second by Johnson. Under discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried.
Move to reconsider.
I will not entertain that, I will not entertain that at all, Mr. Wary.
I didn't think of it.
You. The next improvement service meeting is scheduled for May 30th, 2018. What is it, Wednesday?
That is
Yeah, that's
back on the regular schedule, I believe that is a Wednesday.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Well, let's, can everybody make that one, or
Yes.
you wanna get back to me?
You need your majesty.
That's what I wanna hear, Wary. Mr. Johnson, are you good
Later,
with,
later, I mean, this one falls parks, correct? So what, I mean, I'm
it'll
fine.
follow Parks,
Right,
but I'm guessing we'd probably try to make it at 4 or 4:30.
What time do you need?
later works best for me.
Later, like what, 6?
5 would work
5?
for parks, but I don't wanna hold
Okay.
everyone else up. So after.
Is everybody okay with 5?
For
5
parks,
for INS or
five
parks?
Parks, yes.
Parks?
Yeah.
And then,
Parks is, well, who's the chairman
plus we
for
don't want to
Parks?
test you there.
I don't recognize him over there.
Never heard of them.
No? So, what do you want? You want 5 o'clock Parks?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, then,
that'd be great.
Improvement Services will meet right after it?
Sure.
Okay. 30th, what, that's 2 weeks from,
It's actually 3 weeks from Wednesday.
okay, 3 weeks. All right. Sounds good. If there's a change of plans with anybody, just please give me a call and we'll see what we can do. So, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
By Burnett, second by
Second?
Worry. Under discussion here, none, all in favor, nays, motion carried, we're adjourned. All right.
You just need to hit the stop.
This time I'm gonna leave meeting.
Hit stop?